Welcome to Spotlight on Lee County. I'm Loretta Rose, here on location today in Smith Station, Alabama. Today I will be speaking with another city councilman, and the good news about this is this council member happens to be the Pro-Tem, which is something new for me, and I'm sure it's going to be educational and informative for some of you. We are going to be talking to Mr. Morris Jackson, who has been residing in Smith Station for about 47 years. He also went to school at Waikuchi when it was a high school, so he has a lot of history to talk to us about, and he is also one of the original council members. So we're going to welcome Mr. Jackson to the show today.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Jackson. How are you?
Just good.
Wow, I did not know that you are what they call the Pro-Tem. I sat next to you at the town hall meeting and did not know that I was sitting next to such an important person. So how does it feel? I mean, you are one of the original councilmen, so you have been around for some time.
Yes. As you said earlier, resides in Smith Station for the last 47 years. As strange as it may seem that, nearly 47 years ago, I pretty much knew everybody in Smith Station. But a lot of things happened, especially inside our city in the last 16 and a half years that we've been a city, that now I go to the post office, and I don't know the person. I meet people brand new all the time. So our city, as well as the community of Smith Station, have grown so much.
Absolutely. I'm sure you have seen a lot. And I must say, giving a shout out to those at the Smith Station Post Office, they are the sweetest people. I really enjoy every time I go there. You also went to school in the Lee County School District. At the time, it was Waikuchi High School, which is now today, a lot of the younger generation know it as the middle school or the junior high school. Tell me about how was that? You went to school here, and I think you married later your high school sweetheart. So she went to Waikuchi High. Did she go to Waikuchi?
Yes, she did.
She did as well? And you all been married for a very long time. So where was the school then?
The school is where it is right now. The school is in Salem, Alabama. The present location there. It has grown quite a bit. The additions has been added on, but the school went at that time from the first grade through the 12th grade, and the population, I guess, the students at that time was anywhere from 800 to 900 kids from the first grade through the 12th grade, and a unique experience because. It was in the 60s, and I grew up in the 60 era, and a lot of things was going on in the 60s. One of the things that was going on was the Vietnam era. The war was going on, especially around 63 that we know of. It's probably started before then. But I grew up in that era, and when I came out of high school, of course, it was almost full bloom in 1966.
As I was reading your bio, and we did like a pre-interview, and I talked to you over the phone. And when I read your bio, I see that when you went to school, and then you went to Vietnam or something,
Yes.
like you had to. So tell me how, because see, we don't see that like it happened back then. So you got out of high school, and you were just drafted, and wow.
Yes, almost immediately out of high school. Came out of high school at 18 years old. At 19, I was drafted. And of course, I was fortunate. I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. So it was sort of 20 miles from home. And so I was pretty much at home for my basic training, the 2.5 months that I spent at Fort Benning. and then after then went off to advanced infantry training. And from the time I went in, 5.5 months later, I was in a foreign country called Vietnam. And the strange thing about it, I had never been past Atlanta, Georgia in my life.
Wow. You know, this younger generation, they don't even know what that is to be drafted. They've heard about it in history books, but you have lived that during that time. You've had that experience. But really today, they don't even know how that is. You know, to just get out of high school and you just have to be uprooted and go, you know, to the call of duty.
Right.
You don't have a choice. You just have to go. So, so when you came back, you married your high school sweetheart.
Yeah, 17 days later, after leaving Vietnam, I married my love of my life.
I could tell
at that time. And maybe it was the first, and we've been together since then.
Wow.
We have 3 grown kids. They're not kids anymore, but they have children of their own, and 8 grandchildren, 6 boys and 2 girls.
Wow.
And our oldest grandson is his 2nd year in college, and we got the second one will be coming out of Station High School this year and going off to even Auburn, UAB.
Awesome. And you're still looking young.
Well, I know you've been modest, but thank you.
You are. You look great. You look great. Now, you tell me about, you said in 2001, I believe, you decided to test the waters of politics. What brought that on?
I guess if I look back, if anything influenced me to politics, and believe it or not, I only spent 2 years in the military. But the 2 years the experience that I got in military sort of opened my eyes up to the world, especially Vietnam, after seeing what the 2 different countries that you go into, that I came out of the United States, and at that time I might have took it for granted. But until I got off into a foreign country and I found out, you know, that you didn't have running water, you didn't have electricity, you didn't have the convenience store down the road. Maybe that got me to thinking. But still, after years of Vietnam, you know, I started following more and more of the news media, wanted to know what was going on. And so I got interested into politics maybe somewhere around 2000, no, maybe 1999, when we first started in the incorporation of Station. And at that time, you know, we got to get a chance to go to door, to knock on doors, to try to convince a lot of people that we needed to be independent. We needed to be incorporated. We want to make our own laws and not sit up under someone else's laws that's already made. And I guess that's what more or less influenced me more and more to get involved in self. And during that time, you know, I got encouragement from people, the doors I knocked on, the people that knew me, and that you need to be one of our first council members.
You're such a people person, and in the passion, it just, you know, comes through your service and what you do. When you became a city councilman, I think 2 years later you became Pro-Tem, something like that?
Right, 2.5, 3 years later.
Wow.
I was the second mayor Pro-Tem.
And people that don't know exactly what that means he is the mayor assistant. So if the mayor cannot be on duty or be on hand, this is the man. And so I got educated by that, and because I didn't know that. So how was it before you all became incorporated as a city, though?
Well, the county pretty much controlled Station. We had a county commissioner, and that was about the closest you got to a politician. because there was no incorporation, there was no mayor, there was no council members, but the idea of we needed to somewhat, as I said earlier, to become what we wanted Smith Station to be, and so it was a coming together. The first time we tried to incorporate, it failed. People didn't want this, and but we didn't give up. We tried again.
I love that.
And we kept being persistent until people began to say, okay, that our neighboring city was infiltrating into us, and we didn't want that. And so we wanted to become, as I said, we wanted to become our own way, our own laws, and go from there, And it was a struggle. I can remember the first time, once we became a city, we had no money. We had nothing. And to start a city up, and someone donated us, I believe it was $200. And we opened an account up at the bank, and the salary of the first mayor and the council was zero. There was no money. That was so we worked for free. We sacrificed this time. We sacrificed going from city to city. I can remember going to neighboring cities, asking 10,000 questions. They knew me by, when I walked in the door, they say, "Here come Morris Jackson again," because I wanted to know. I did not want us to be a failure.
Yes.
And the only way to learn is ask questions.
Wow, that's a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that you're pouring out as we have this interview, because that's the game of life. It's not always going to be easy.
That's right.
But I love that, the determination that you all had to not give up. What do you think about service? Because I can tell you love service, serving your community. I'm really big on service unto other and serving in our community, because I believe when we do that, we do it unto ourselves as well. Exactly. So how do you feel about it?
That's what we are, servants. When we think about servants, a lot of times, too many times, I think, if we come into the city council and we sit in the big chairs and we rail back, and people might look at us as being, well, he's a politician. But I look at servant being a servant to the people, and that's what I am to the people. Besides my 16, 17 years almost with this city, before then, I was a deacon, I still am, a deacon in my church ever since I was 23 years old. And so I learned the attitude of a servant, because that's what we are. God put us here on earth to serve people, not to be lifted up, not to be puffed up, not because we got mayor on our name, a council member on our in front of our name. That means nothing unless we are serving Him, and that's why one of the reasons that I do what I do, because I want to be that servant for Him.
Absolutely.
And when I do that, then I become the servant of the people.
Wow, I love it. That is so amazing. That is so true. That is so true. And now that you tapped into that, you also teach Sunday school.
Yes.
Because I heard the teacher coming out of you when you just said that. I love it. So how long you've been serving in the ministry like that?
Pretty much since the age of 20 after Vietnam, I never did somewhat leave the church. You know, when I was after I graduated from high school, I thought I just should go to church once a month, and because I was young and stayed out late on Saturday evenings at 18 years old, 19. But Vietnam had some changes made in my life. Wow. And I had some unique experience over there that left no doubt that there are years of God.
Yes.
And after that, and of course married a young lady that was also in the church as well, and we had children and brought them up into God's house. So as I said, was a deacon at 23, the chairman of my deacon board at 24.
Wow.
And now I'm the Sunday school teacher of my adult class, and I love every minute of it.
It shows, and you're a member of Pinehurst Baptist Church. I was reading that in your bio, and that is located in Columbus.
Yes, it is.
So it shows, it come across your service unto other. What do you feel like that our younger, because there may be some this younger generation or younger people that may inspire to be a leader, because you are a leader in the community. And I know you're not big on titles and things, but you are a leader. But there may be someone watching and that may be inspired to do something like this someday. And having the mindset of serving unto others is one of the greatest things that they need. But our younger generation is missing something. There's a gap somewhere in between. I mean, it may be a grandchild or something, someone else's grandchild that may be watching when they watch this interview. I mean, what would you pour into them, being the man that you are and the man of wisdom that you have, and to just want to make their community a greater community? Because see, when you all went out knocking on doors to doors, you want it greater for your community. You want it greater for the place where you live. You all exemplified what neighborhood was all about, and the love and the caring and the passion. That's why this city, Smith Station, is such a great city, because of that foundation you all, when you all established this. You know, it's like, it was just so loving, but we're missing that. And we want the younger generation, because they're going to be our future leaders.
Yes.
What would you have to say to them?
I think one of the things, and one of the things my second oldest grandson said to me, and he's 18 now, and this was several years ago, and he said, "Granddaddy," I thought it was sort of strange at the time he said it, but he said, "When I grow up, I want to be just like you." And so that gave me an incentive that I have to be a good example. I have to live, I have to have integrity every day of my life, because someone sees you and what you do, what you say, where you go.
Always watching.
But one of the things that, if I had to say something to our young people today, is get involved. Don't sit and wait for something to come.
That's good.
You know, education is well, and don't get me wrong, I push hard for all of my grandkids to graduate from college and go on, but also bring something back to your community. When you can do this right here,
I love it.
You know, legacies, you know, that's okay. Yeah, if you read about the city of Smith Station 100 years ago, 100 years from now, you know, you will find our name on some charter or something that we started here. But this legacy has got to be carried on. And the only way to do this will be for our kids to get involved in our community and what's going on in the city. It brightens my day when I can go to the city council and I see kids that's junior high and high school sitting in the council meeting. When I go to these high school and they ask me questions about why this law, what do you all do? And I'm able to tell them, you know, we are making laws. One of the things the council do and the mayor do, and we hope to make it not for, at least I look at it, I don't make it in the best interest of Morris.
That's right.
I have to make those laws and vote on them in the best interest of Smith Station.
Yeah,
Put me out of the way.
That's good, yeah.
Put
yeah.
me, because
I love
all
it.
of this right here will pass away. But that future, those laws is going to influence, they're going to have something to do with our young people.
It's going to impact their lives.
It's going to impact.
Yeah, I love that. You're a great leader. You are a great leader, and that's some great advice to them as well. What are you most proud of in these last almost 17 years of Smith Station? What do you feel like, because you've seen a lot from day one, because you are an original member. What has been one of your greatest? I know this building, when you all acquired this building, I know that was a big thing for you all. But what are you most proud of, if you can, add one?
There are several things that happened over the last 17 years. As you mentioned, this building was one, because we started off in a mobile home.
Wow.
A mobile home that was sitting on someone else's property. And to acquire this building and pay for it in the time that we had. Businesses we don't have a lot of, and that's one of the things we are hoping it will come later on, especially once sewage begin to come into Smith Station. If we look at our sports complex over here, that's another accomplishment. If we look back several years ago, it was no place for our kids to play. There are several things that, that's over there now. There's soccer fields, there's football fields, there's baseball and Little League and all of this right here. And if you ride through there in some evenings I do this, I just ride through there and look at the accomplishments over there, where years ago it was just pine trees and dirt. Now there's kids, there's lights, there's hundreds of kids over there every evening playing. So it's something for them to do. I think there's more need to be done, because everyone don't play sports.
That's right.
Everyone, don't have the ability to play sports. So we need to develop something, for those kids as well.
Absolutely.
But if we invest into, we need to invest into our children.
I love
and
that.
If we don't invest into our children, our future.
You are absolutely right. At the city town hall meeting, there was a parent that stood up and were, talking about something for the young people, to keep our young people in our city. A lot of time they have to go outside of the city, right. But I like that, and you are absolutely correct. We must invest in them. Oh, wow. You've given out a lot of great tips and knowledge. Tell us how you feel about Mayor Copeland. I put you on the spot, because I know you're proud of him.
Yes.
And you have a long history with him.
Yeah, we do. One of the things that about the mayor, and of course, when I first knew him, I called him Bubba. And Bubba was 7 years old when I first knew him, because he's a year older than my son. But they played on the same Little League baseball team. And that's how I got to know Bubba at that time.
Fred Bubba Copeland. I always wanted to know, where did Bubba come from? He's going to have to come on and tell us about that.
But that's how, when I first met him, and because my wife was involved into the little league, and at that time it was always they had to sell something, and she was a team mother there for a while, and so she got involved in it quite a bit herself, and we all knew every kid by their nickname, most likely because the parents called them that nickname. That's right. But what I think about him as mayor, because I know him, I know the background. He grew up, the family that he grew up with, and so it wasn't something brand new that someone come in and just moved in here 5 years ago. This is our second mayor. We started off with LaFay Dellinger, and she served her time for a long time until last year, and she became unable to be the mayor, and of course we had an election last year in I believe August when we had the election, and of course the mayor was Bubba was elected mayor.
And she was at the town hall meeting.
Yes,
she was here, and it was so nice to see her. And I did not know that was the reason, why she, went on. And she had shared with me. But I think that is great. You all have had only 2 mayors in almost 17 years. That says a lot about this community. That says a lot about the leadership in this community. You haven't had someone to come in and out, in and out, in and out.
Only 2 mayors. 8, if I make no mistake, 8 city councilmen, but only 5 serves at a time. So we had some that came on and stayed a period, a tenure time, and they left and went on to something better. But you have 2 original council members, and I'm one of the original ones.
Awesome. Well, we are so proud of you. Is it anything that you would like to say to the community, or you want the community to know? I would love for you to have an opportunity to say it. You've said a lot, but if there's anything that you want to say, that's laid on your heart to just share with the people, about even if it's something that you want to see happen in the future with Smith Station, or whatever God just lay on your heart.
I think one of the things, if I had to leave one thing with the community, and I know we meet 2nd and 4th Tuesday out of every month. One of the things that, I would like to see would be more involvement from the community into the council meeting, because if we don't know about it, it's hard for us to do anything about it. And a lot of times when we found out about it, it have already happened.
It's already happened.
And therefore you can't go back and correct what we should have known about. So we all the time we don't know about it. I guess get involved, come to the meeting. I run into people all the time at the post office because I walk a lot, and a lot of times I get an earful, and that's right, and that's okay.
And they want to get it off.
That's right. Get it off your chest and tell me what you think we're doing right or what we're doing wrong, and that's the only way we can move forward. But as long as we sit there, as long as we sit and just wait and show up when it's all over or too late to do anything about it. But involvement is one of the things, and we have a great city. I'm proud of this city, and when I go, I try to represent Smith Station.
It shows, and I love that. Get involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mr. Jackson, you have been a blessing. Well, you've been listening to Councilman Pro-Tem, Mayor Assistant, Morris Jackson. You've been watching Spotlight on Lee County with Loretta Rose here on location in Smith Station. Until next time, you be blessed.